Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for October 4th to October 10th of 2015. And on October 4th, we have the sun. You can see it denoted right here by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Libra. It's also in the 48th hexagram. And on the outside of the wheel, we have the chop mark for the 48. Numbered from bottom to top, the 48 goes yin, yang, yang, yin, yang, yin. And then the 48th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here is the 48th gate of depth, the well, the necessary and qualitative foundation, that is the prerequisite to establishing the common good, located in the splenic center in a collective logic energy path in the understanding circuit called the channel of the wavelength, a design of talent that connects to the 16th gate of skills, enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we've got the following activated gates on October 4th. We've got the sun in the 48th gate with the earth in the 21st gate. The north node is in the 46th gate with the south node in the 25th gate. Mercury is retrograde and slowing down to turn direct on the 9th, and it's also in the 46th gate. Venus is in the 29th gate. Mars is in the 59th gate. Jupiter is in the 64th gate. Saturn is in the 34th gate. Uranus is retrograde in the 51st gate. Neptune is retrograde in the 37th gate, and Pluto is in the 38th gate. So obviously not every channel activation, every gate activation forms a channel, but the information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. No matter what the weather, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather's for your pleasure. And we begin the week with two channel definitions due to the transit field. We've got with the south node in the 25 and Uranus in the 51, we've got the channel of initiation, a design and needing to be first until November 29th, where we might experience some sort of leap into the unknown. This is an individual channel that empowers the courage to take a chance on something unknown and deal with the consequences afterwards. Obviously, following your strategy and authority will help you to determine if this initiation is correct for you, or faced with multiple possibilities to experience a quantum shift, which ones, if any, are correct for you. In the mundane world, we're likely to see people becoming more competitive, pushing the boundaries, getting outside of their comfort zones, which will be shocking to themselves and others as they feel the wonder of their own unique spirit. If you experience people acting unpredictable during this time period, just recognize this as a conditioning force which will eventually move on. But it could seem that folks are less in balance while experiencing this foreign energetic. And with the defined ego center, people who do not have a defined heart center may feel like they have something to prove or make promises or commitments that are not correct for them. And then the defined G center could influence those folks without to obsess about where they're headed, where they'll find love, things like that. This is also individual circuitry, so it brings that melancholy or blue feelings that are best used in any type of in some type of creative activity. And then with Venus in the 29th gate and the north node in the 46th, we've got the channel of discovery, which is a design of succeeding where others fail and failing where others succeed. That will be with us until October 8th, and it brings the energy that if we make a commitment to something, we have to abandon ourselves to it during this time period. So again, very important to use your strategy and authority before making any kind of a commitment. And it's through our experiences that we realize that there is no such thing as success or failure, only continuing discovery. So it's about being in the now and the experience of being alive. And again, the defined G center could influence folks to wonder where they're headed, where they're going to find love. The defined sacral center affects non-generator types and feeling busy and having the endurance to work, but obviously don't get used to it. They also may think that they know when enough is enough, which could lead to a premature or abrupt end to something that really needs more time. So we're going to be looking at the sun's Rabi Ching line values daily because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. Obviously, if your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you could always just notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. October 4th, we begin with the sun in the second line, the hermit line of the 48th hexagram. The sun in the 48-2 is described as degeneracy, exalted the awareness that to successfully establish a new form, one cannot neglect the most positive attributes just to accommodate inferior elements. A confidence and awareness to resist inferior influences. Detrimented, the misguided urge for harmony that degenerates when associated with inferior values into decadence. A lack of confidence in the awareness that invites interference and decadence. Second line days we talked about, the people are waiting for something. They're waiting to be called, particularly called for their natural talents. And under that influence of the hermit, people are not as inclined to engage in some type of social activity. But then later on the 4th, the sun then leaves the hermit line, moves into the martyr line of the 48th hexagram. And this shift happens at 6:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 48-3 is incommunicado, exalted, symbolized by the no moon phase, where the potential light is unrecognized, unavailable, and unknowable. The redeeming value is that the transience of such a stage, which is in the transience of such a stage, which can give strength to those so afflicted. Where development of taste and depth is a long-term process. Detrimented, the profound anxiety when a profound intelligence is forgotten in the wilderness. The tendency for, in a long-term process, development of taste and depth to anxiety. Third line days, the line of the martyr, this is about having a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. Often things bump into us under that third line energy, so it's a day to be careful on the roads, be careful of swinging doors, swinging elbows, things in your environment where we might have something bump into us. We might also have bonds made and broken. Third line day is a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane, according to Ra. But you've got to be careful because things can go wrong. But hopefully, if they do, it leads to some type of discovery. And then also on the 4th, Mars moves from the 59th gate in hexagram to the 40, where it defines the solar plex center and the channel of community. So Mars is in the 40th gate of aloneness, deliverance, the point of transition between struggle and liberation. And in the first line of the 40, Mars is in the line of recuperation, exalted, the ability to relax and enjoy the fruits of one's behavior, the ego strength to enjoy being alone, detrimented, the ego uncomfortable with being alone long. And Ross spoke about Mars as being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype, and by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. And with Mars in the 40th gate and Neptune in the 37, this brings us to the channel of community until October 13th. And this definition brings the energy where people will wonder where they belong in the scheme of things. and then try to live that out. It's a time of thinking about marriage and family as a foundation of community. Fairness becomes important under the influence of the channel of community, and balance is also important in all aspects of life. People will explore how they fit into their community, and on a mystical level, where they fit into the universe and what their true purpose is. We talked about the defined ego center influencing people to maybe make promises or commitments that aren't correct for them, or feel like they have something to prove. The defined solar plexus, for those who do not have emotional definition, this can bring that unfamiliar wave of emotions and perhaps lead to acting confrontational. On the 5th, the sun then moves up into the 4th line. So it leaves the martyr line, moves into the opportunist line of the 48th hexagram at 5:19 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the sun in the 4th line of the 48 is described as restructuring, exalted the good sense to take advantage of restriction on a short-term activity to assess the situation and restructure for long-term goals that will facilitate development when activities resume. The awareness that depth and its possible expression will face restrictions with the resulting taste for short-term projects. And the sun's exalted in the 48-4, so I'm not going to discuss the detrimented aspects of that line. And when we get to the 4th line, we move from the lower trigram, 1st, 2nd, 3rd line, to the upper trigram, 4th, 5th, 6th line. And this shift brings a change from the inward perspective of the lower trigram to the outward perspective of the upper trigram, with the themes of friendship and companionship, networking. 4th line days are great for social interaction. And then on the 6th, the sun then moves up into the 5th line. So it leaves the opportunist line, moves into the heretic line, 48th hexagram, at 4:09 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 48-5 is described as action, exalted the natural urge to apply energy to action, a taste for action, detrimented the over-reliance on the need for protection that in times of social renewal is obsessed with the details of planning at the expense of action. And the 5th line days, the line of the heretic, this is really about projection. The projection always goes positive to negative, positive being they could do it, they're the perfect person for it, things like that. And then what happens is people have an expectation, they project that expectation. If the person doesn't meet the expectation, then the projection turns negative. The person gets punished. The heretic gets tied to the stake. So 5th line days is a day of suspicion, but it's also of universalization, where something can leak out and spread like a virus. We also talk about that paranoia is associated with the 5th line day. And as I've said before, if they're projecting on you and you're not meeting their expectation and they are out to get you, then it truly isn't paranoia, is it? And obviously this can impact the nature of relationships, and seduction also being a theme of 5th line day. The 7th, the sun then moves into the 6th line. So up here in the role model line on the roof of the hexagram of the 48th gate at 2:57 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the sun in the 6th line of the 48 is self-fulfillment, an undiminished resource, exalted the valued center that as it gives, it receives and thus can continue to give. A depth and a potential talent that is of value to others, detrimental a tendency to superficiality that though generous and nurturing will lack the inspirational quality that can transform its gift into common currency. Where depth is limited, the taste for the superficial and the affect the quality of possible talent. 6 line days on the roof of the hexagram. I like to think about being on the roof of a building. When we're standing on a building, we don't tend to be looking at that building as much as what's in the neighborhood, what's down the road, what's on the horizon. Ra talked about not getting stuck with your head in the clouds because you'll have something banging up into your kneecaps or your shins under that 6-line day. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around you because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. And like a 3rd-line day, there's certain dangers of perhaps not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming, things of that nature. And then on the 8th, the sun then moves from the 48th gate in hexagram to the 57, which creates this definition of the channel of power in the divine splenic center. And the Earth moves out of the 21, and it joins Uranus in the 51st gate of shock, the arousing, the ability to respond to disorder through shock, and shock through recognition and adaptation. This shift happens at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and the sun in the 57th gate of intuitive insight, the gentle, the extraordinary power of clarity. The sun in the 57-1, this is the gate of confusion, exalted, the gift of penetrating to the inner meaning that ensures timely action. The possibility of the intuition penetrating to the inner meaning, detrimented, where feelings are no substitute for clarity and can only lead to indecision. The possibility that confusion will overpower intuition. So now we're in a new hexagram with the sun in the 1st line. And again, 1st, 2nd, 3rd lines, these are lower trigram. These are days when people are more looking inward. They're more absorbed in their own process. And the themes of the 1st line is like there's a fear or some anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act. It's a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't understand, can't make sense of, or don't know. And then also on the 8th, Venus moves out of the 29th gate and into the 59th gate. With this, we've got Venus in human design is very powerful, although deeply misunderstood, according to Ra. It brings values, morals, a natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you on a moral level? Well, your design and personality Venuses will tell you about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life. And then if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. And in the 59th gate, Venus is in the gate of sexuality, dispersion, the ability to break down barriers to achieve union. Venus is in the 1st line of the 59, which is the preemptive strike, exalted the authority and vitality that in understanding purpose and direction can recognize and eliminate barriers before they become impregnable. The power of fertility to impregnate, detrimented in this position the ability and intelligence to recognize, but the deep indecisiveness to know how and when to act. The potential of fertility limited by uncertainty. And with the sun moving into the 57th gate, and we've got Saturn over here in the 34th gate, we have the channel of power design of an archetype, which is going to be with us until October 14th. This channel brings an attunement to the body to have an acute early warning system to anything in the immediate environment. This increases our intuitive awareness through the power of sacral response. This may have folks to feel more on guard and alert to the dangers of the moment. This is an animal instinct to engage in battle or jump out of the way with a split-second response from our attunement to sound and vibration. People would be more in tune with what's being said from the tone of voice of the speaker rather than the words spoken. Sometimes this is experienced as coolness by others, but this is also an individual channel of survival. It represents the archetype of what it is to be human. To define splenic center, it brings with it intuition and well-being. Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit that defines the splenic center. And of course, then we've the sacral definition is still there, which, as we said before, can influence projectors, manifestors, and reflectors in having a feeling of being busy and endurance to work. And that they also may think that they know when enough is enough, which, as I said before, can lead to the premature or abrupt ending to something that really needs more time. On the 9th, the sun then moves into the second line of the 57 at 12:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 57-2 is described as cleansing. The clarity to establish proper values and ideals must be accomplished by resolute determination to maintain them. Exalted, perfected cleansing through inner realization. The possibility for proper values and ideals through intuition. Detrimented, a superficial cleansing that tends to hide the dirt underneath the carpet. The possibility that depth of intuition will be treated superficially. And again, second line days, the line of the hermit. What we're dealing with is that people are waiting for something, waiting to be called, particularly called for their natural talents. People against lower trigram stuck in their own trip. Not a great day to have a party because no one will really want to come. And then on the 10th, the sun then moves into the third line of the 57. And this happens at 11:17 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 57-3 is acuteness, exalted, perfected intelligence where clarity eliminates doubt and ensures manifestation. The possibility of perfected intuition. There's no polarity, a detriment. There's no planet in detriment. And again, as we said before, third line day, the martyr, that things bump into us. So being careful on the roads, be careful of swinging doors, swinging elbows, things in your environment that could bump into you. Again, we might have a day where bonds are made and broken. It's a day where there's a trial and error process. Things can go wrong, but hopefully if they do, they lead to some type of discovery. So no matter what energies are conditioning you during the week, just remember this is about an experience about being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage. Just take some time to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as acting your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly Neutrino forecast will be for October 11th, 2015. Should be available on the 10th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube, as there are New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose, and invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You will need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And as always, I am blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh. And as Ra would say, love yourself. All my best to you, and look forward to connecting in the future.